There we go. Now we cooking with fish grease. Let me set one more thing up. Let me see. Okay, 1 second. Let me get to that. Let me take care of one more thing. And we're gonna be ready. Doo-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo. Come on, setting. Where'd it go? Oh, 1 second, y'all. Let me trying to get something set up real fast. All right, all right, all right. Oh, one more thing I need to check, and we getting started. All right. Got it. Boom. All right. All right. Just setting up. Peace to everybody. Peace, peace. Hope everybody doing all right. We just getting some things set up. We're gonna get right to it in a second. Dun-dun-dun-dun-dun. Let me see. Okay, I got it. Give me one. If I can pull it up for you, bro. Let's see. All right. Got it. Got it. Got it. Hope everybody having a good night and all that good stuff. Peace, peace, peace to everybody. To everybody, peace and love and light and illumination. Honor to everyone. Honor to everyone. Just jumped on here. I want to share some information with brothers and sisters that you might know, that you might not know, or just some clarity. But we're not here to debate anyone's religious perspective. We're not here for that because I don't operate under no religious dogma. I understand all religious rights, but what I do when I give messages and when I give teachings, I challenge my brothers and sisters to study, to show yourself approved. Because a lot of our brothers and sisters may or may have not studied, may have not understand linguistics, and maybe you just have been told some things and you haven't had a chance to look at it with your own eye. So here we adults and we're here to research things, you know, from a scholarly perspective. And so, okay, yep, I got a little bit more time. I'm multitasking. I got some on the stove, some tea. So let me check on that tea real fast, and I'll be right back because I don't want it to boil all over. Hold on. But yeah, But back to it. Someone was asking me earlier about contract and contract law. And I tell everyone, like for instance, when you're dealing with doctors and everything, and so if you have a criminal attorney, or if you have say, how can I say, contract attorney, say you have an indigenous people law and policy attorney, but specifics. So when I talk about signing contracts and reading, I always tell brothers and sisters, read the contract. Read the contract and have your own person in your best rights to read these things, you know. Let me block. That's stupid. All right. But I always tell people to read contracts. So when you act like you don't know what a contract is, or when you sign certain things, read the contract. Read the contract. Everything is in the contract. You should take the time to read the contracts. And so we were talking about this today when there's a lot of, young guys from my city that, rap. I met a young brother today at the little organic store. He was like, this, not, and the other. He was like, yeah, you from Patterson? Yep. He was asking me, do I know certain people from our neighborhood that, rap today? I'm like, yeah. And then we just started talking about contract law and signing things and how people, when you get famous, or you don't even have to be super famous, but when you have a name and a likeness, you have to understand contracts. And so I always tell people like, what do you want? When you're going into any of these arenas, it's all on you. If you want money up front or this, not, and the other, read the contract. See if the contract is in advance. See what's in the contract. If you don't know the words that's in the contract, or you may not have the aptitude to do that, then you should hire someone. Peace. Then you should hire someone. We're not on here to be trolls or anything, or to be disrespectful. I tell everyone, if you're not here to learn, all you have to do is remove yourself, or I'll block you. Because the things that I'm talking about is very, very, very important, especially to those that's in the arena of everything that I'm talking about. So when I talk about signing contracts and what's in the contract, especially when I talk about music contracts, I use this for the good purpose because that's what we're talking about. It's words in that contract that a lot of people read right over and really don't know what those words mean. So if you sign a contract and say you don't have your legal representative that's there that's representing you in your best interest, when you sign a contract, what you gonna say afterwards when you say, oh, you being hustled and you don't have no rights, and you sign a contract to this and that and the other, and all they're gonna do is say, well, let's see what the contract said. When you look at the contract, and if you didn't sign the contract, it's a lot of things in the contract that you should at least take the time to research and highlight things that you don't know. That's the least you should do. That's the least you should do. Even with this NIL funds that's going on with everyone, read the contract. Read the contract. No matter if you getting credit or getting phones or whatever you're doing, read the contract, because reading the contracts on everything is vital to what? Everything. It's vital to everything that you do. And it's a thing called will and obligor. Like in this context, when a lot of people say, oh, well, they can't do this and they can't do that. And I say, okay, well, let's see, have you, how can I say, willingly been a participant of said goods or services, or say, yeah, just say it like that, said goods or services. We ain't got to go no further than that, because that can cover a plethora of things. When it come down to the come down, they're gonna be like, well, in order for you to have X, Y, and Z and this, and that, and the other, it was contingent on this. Sign a contract. And no one on here has been done or made to sign a contract in duress. That's false. You signed it willingly. Just like when I read people contracts on their cars, and I'd be like, what made you get this car with this high interest rate? What you mean, man? I said, you got this car with this high interest rate. What made you do that? And you put a deposit down? You should have got with somebody that had a dealer's license and hooked you up and say, man, I got this type of bread, boom, boom, boom. But no, we don't. We're not in a community where we do what? Have these things set up. And so when you go on a contract and then I show you what you signed, you will be like, whoa, it's in the contract. What? The one that you didn't read. I mean, and it'd be that simple. So I always ask people, what do you want? It's just like the rapper today. I can give so much current stuff. What's the rapper today? Oh, man. He from the South, Brian. And to me, the brother talented. He under a shady deal with I think the record group is Rap A Lot. His name will come to me. Damn. And to me, the brother talented. I don't give a damn what nobody say. When I say talent, I recognize talent no matter how the talent is being used. Damn, what's that brother name? Oh, shoot. I mean, if y'all know who I'm talking about, type it on there. But make a long story short, the contract. So say if these said people, entity A, and then you're not even an entity, whatever your rap name is, follow me. So you don't understand that your name is a business, that they're gonna get the name and likeness off of your name, to where when you sign that, if you ain't reading it, that can be an advance, and that advance can be what? Man, your contract can be so upside down, and then you can never put music out under that name. Why? Because they own that name. Because they own that name, that likeness, that's that person performing under for said amount of years that you sign. And a lot of times I tell people it's a word that most people don't know, and it means for life in contracts. Now, what? Is it through in there? When I tell people things might not be, how can I say? Things might not be honorable, but a lot of things fall on you. What I say, it's no excuse of not knowing the law in a court of law. So it's all on you. So you have to have people in your best interest that know what the hell they talking about, that can't be compromised, that can't be bought, that can stand on whatever they saying and be like, man, that's cap. If they have your best interest. That's what we should be talking about. And I know nothing fugazi. And then we can have intellectual discussions on different topics of religion or this or that or XYZ. You know? But when it come to this contract law, and I always ask brothers and sisters, when you see people complaining, and I use Mace for instance, just because, and he probably admit to it because he's an older gentleman now. He was upside down in his contract. A lot of people, they assign to some change. And, you know, in that contract, you'll say, yeah, you'll get this, yeah, you got a car, you got a Bentley, you got this and that and the other, but you didn't read the contract. And a contract is self-explanatory. So now, the flip side of what I'm talking about is, say you do have an attorney present, right? Say you do have an attorney, and say this is a real so-called attorney, and you say you give this information to this attorney, right? And this attorney reads this And if this attorney's supposed to be in your best interest, right, that know what's going on, and your attorney right there, and you still sign that contract with that attorney present or supposed to be operating in his best interest for you, and you still go on that contract and it don't benefit you or you don't know the ins and out of that contract you signing, then it's certain precedent in law that you can bring up on that said attorney that's supposed to be defending you in this context. So when people be complaining, I say, okay, let's look at the contract. Let's look what you signed. Who did you have present with you? Did you have your attorney? You had their attorney. I always tell people you always have to get outside counsel that's operating in your best interest. You don't let no one's company, oh, we got our own lawyers and our own attorneys and our own doctors and all this. No. You always have what? Your own outside that has your best interest. When you operate in that a manifestation of understanding, that's when we talk about proof. We talk about things that can be proven. And so we don't have to listen to people saying, and then we pick sides. We can say, okay, well, let's look at what happened. So then you have to go back and say, man, you know what? During the time when I was going through this and when I signed this contract, I didn't have proper representation that was in my best interest. And then we have to say that. These brothers can say, man, I just wanted the fame, and I thought, I can do this and do this. I didn't read the contract. I know. And so it becomes a old story when I always talk about what? Our people are lost due to the lack of knowledge. I always tell people, educate yourself when you're doing things, because no one else, listen, if I'm not an entertainer, if I'm not the one producing these songs and whatever that's going on, then clearly I have no talent. The only thing it is a person getting fronted, XYZ. So what I'm saying is, if you're okay with getting fronted, whatever you're doing, if you're not okay with getting fronted, whatever you're doing when you're going into that manifestation, you should want to know what's in the contract, so you won't have no mishaps, so you can't complain, or you can't be this individual today like you stuck in a contract. I tell people, listen, you're not stuck in no contract. Did you sign a contract? Because if you sign a contract, then nobody hustle you. You signed a contract that was put in front of your face, and it wasn't under duress. So if it wasn't under duress, did you have proper representation when you signed that contract? If you're honest, you got to say no. And now the thing is, you have to fulfill that contract under what? That said name and likeness that you signed that contract to, and you don't know it. It's just like Terrence Howard in Hustle and Flow when he made that song, whoop that trick, whatever. That wasn't Terrence Howard. That was the individual that the movie studio had produced. That said funds went to that entity. The actors just got paid their money. They ain't getting no royalties. They're not getting royalties off that song. When I say the contract, all I'm just talking about is the contract. Did you read the contract? Did you read the contract? Did you read the contract? Forget all the stuff you think you know. Did you read the contract? Because if you say you read said contract and you know all the words in the contract, and the words in that contract tell you that, and I'm not even going to say the word. It's a word in the contract that says everything you produce, everything you put out under this name and this likeness is ours for X amount of years because we fronted you this. But it's a specific word in this type of, in this type of law, which we talk about signing contract. We call it contractual law. It's certain verbiage in there that the average person don't even know. And so I was analyzing it when somebody was like, well, how you feel about the rapper today, that signed the contract with Rap-A-Lot, this, that, and the other. I said, listen here, man. I'm 49 years young. I tell every young person, anybody that's doing something, it ain't about no money. If somebody have an expertise that do something, you get with them so you can make sure that this, whatever you sign, it's in your best interest. A person that can take a 400 page, a 200 page, a 300 page, or whatever page it is, and read over that and understanding the words, understanding all the language, and come back to you to say, okay, well, this is in this contract. It got X, Y, and Z in it. It say you're gonna get this front. This is just what? An advance. Do you know what an advance is? No, advance is you got to pay this back and this, that, and other, boom, 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 boom. So before you even probably make something, this is what you're doing. You're gonna be doing shows forever. So do you want to do that, or do you want a 50-50? Whatever it is that you say or you want to do, it has to be negotiated in that contract. If it's not negotiated in that contract, you can't be mad, and you can't pick sides, and you can't say no one doing no one wrong. You can't do that. You can't do that. What you can say, though, is, you know what? The brother just did another mistake that most of these people do, and then they talk about it as they get older. You know, I tell people this all day. I say, yes, I understand, because we got social media today. So you can get on social media and rant and be all over hotel like, I got hustled, I got played. Dude, you signed a contract. You signed a contract. Tell me you didn't sign a contract. Yeah, I signed a contract. Who was there with you when you signed a contract? Was it an attorney there with you that signed a contract? If you say yes, was it a real attorney? Was it your attorney outside, not attorney for this whole whatever entity that they say it is? So if you don't have this for your best interest and you go into this, that's on you. And that's why I be telling people, when you go into things, you got to have God men with you. Why? To be able to stand on things and make a difference. I be telling people, I say, man, it make a difference. I be like, what, dude? You don't have God man with you that can stand on it right there. And then the judge will be like, you should have been had him. And you can say, man, this is your spiritual advisor. This is the person that got your best interest. You can have all the attorneys you want, but I'm gonna be your legal representative. Why? I'm gonna give you precedent in law cases, doc number, Free Information Act. They gonna look scared as hell when they see me. Why? Because I know about everything they do behind closed doors. I know about the quid pro quo. I know about all that. I know about the Chicago Law Review. I know about all that stuff that you think no one don't know. I know about the habeas corpus. I know about all the writs in the right way. I know about precedent in law, doc cases, Free Information Act. I know about real precedent in law. And I'm cool with prosecuting attorneys, sheriffs, and all that stuff out in Arizona. I ain't want nobody, I ain't under no rock. And I graduated from Howell, Michigan with a dual master's degree from Clear University. I'm in Flint right now, in my home state. And I got a dual master's degree from Grand Canyon University. And I be telling people, look me up. And I talk just like this on the college campuses. And people saw me graduating. If it was hot, I would have had all my spiritual and my chiefdom on. It was just too hot. So I don't know what people be talking about. I say it's only one way. What way? The right way. What way? It's only one way that can stand like a lion, that can stand alone, that can teach the truth. What? Regardless if it fill a room or clear it out, that can stand alone and willing to. You have to go through the depths of hell to be like that. You have to been hurt and been stepped on. Like I tell people, like my story, a lot of people probably couldn't even go on if I tell people my story. You know, the thing that I've seen, you know, that's why I have to be honorable. That's why I have to talk to people just like this. I have to be like, no, that's cap. Who? I say that to anybody that ain't telling the truth. I don't care what you got behind your name or no dollars. I tell them exactly like this, with no doubt, without no question. Be like, nope, that's not valid. Nope, that's not precedent. Nope, no, that's prejudice. No matter what level it is, because when I talk about the 5%ers in the context that I'm talking about, a 5%er is a person, individual that'll teach the truth. That's a 5%er. And have nothing to do with no color. Because if we operate on righteousness and understanding and reason, then how can we disagree? And so that was just a real concept. I was telling my young brothers and sisters, and I say, I understand why a lot of young men and a lot of our emphasis is lost. Why? Because we didn't get the covering. They didn't get the cultural part of the spirituality. They didn't see a lot of their brothers. They didn't get to see it. It demolished with the Panthers, and you get a misconception of what honorable and nobility consist of. A lot of our children and kids don't even know what this turban represent. But see, turban was worn in the black churches. It represented the mystical East. Any misnomer black person you see in our ancient times or in the 60s with a turban on, it signified the mystical East. We were the seers in the misnomer back in the black church. You can get the book called The Chosen Ones. And you will see the Moor Zionist Temple of the Jews. You will see Wentworth Matthews. You will see Abdullah. Abdullah was Neville Goddard's teacher that taught him the wisdom. Research Neville Goddard, the European sage and mystic. He was taught by Abdullah, the Ethiopian rabbi that they have in the book. So when I be telling people, I'm like, dude, we're not here to argue or nothing. We're here to teach and resurrect and show what's here in the Americas. But when we talk about this specific, when I talk about specific contractual law, when I talk about everything and I just put it in a bottle, I teach this stuff specifically. Why? Because I have the pleasure to learn it. So when I be speaking, I be like, man, I speak manufacturer. I take a 400-page of a contract and break it all the way down, break it down to probably like maybe 30 pages and tell you everything in the contract. Because it's gonna take that much, and I hope you can read 30 pages. If not, I'll read it with you. And if that's what you want to do, you do that. But you can't, you can't complain after you've done that as an adult. Why? Because when you was a child, you act like a child, right? When we become men and women, what? We do things the righteous way. So the first thing I tell you to do what? Educate yourself. And we don't want to be educated on nothing. We don't want to spend the same type of funds that we'll spend on anything else. And when I deal with other nationalities, they be like, this is part of our life. And I'll be like, that's what I be saying. Like, this is what I be saying. All this stuff can be all this stuff can be abolished. How? So fast. Because if you got all these attorneys and all this stuff, and this stuff is still happening to these brothers and sisters, somebody we talk about a black hand then. Because all these attorneys that you see on social media and all this, they should be reaching out to all these brothers, looking at their contract and saying, okay, well, you did this or this and the other, or this wasn't right. This wasn't right. How? You had an attorney when you signed this? So you don't know it's a precedent in law case where you can bring charges up on that attorney? You ain't know that? No, I ain't know that. See? Because it's a precedent in law. And if your attorney ain't defending you that know what's wrong, and your attorney there and say, yep, you signed this and this and this and that and the other, and don't tell you all the specifics, the ins and out of that contract you doing, he wrong. That means he been bought or she been bought. These is facts, man. So if that's the case, bring up charges. I'm telling you it ain't the case. With all due respect, and this is just, because I ain't even gotten my topic, man. This is just I had to come from the dome because this was asked to me. And the young brothers was like, bro. And I was like, yeah. And then I was telling them, I said, look, how y'all get? And I said, who own all these stores? No disrespect. I'm keeping it 100. I said, the stores y'all go to, who own them? The same people that own all of the fish and chicken spots. The same people that own all the Coney Islands in Detroit. No disrespect. Look what they selling now. And then I asked the brother, I said, what they selling y'all? He was like, what you mean? I said, when y'all go in those stores, what they selling y'all in bottles? He like that stuff, that lean stuff, all that sugary shit that'll give you diabetes. It's like a pop, but it's like lean, all this. I said, yep. And they all sell it, don't they? He was like, hell yeah. He was like, hell yeah. He said, God damn, bro. I said, yeah, fool. They don't sell it to them. If they Muslim, they can't sell it. That's against their culture. They don't sell no liquor, no wine, no cigarettes. They don't got that bullshit in their community. I keep telling y'all people, I'll be like, dude, they don't love y'all like that. You are a consumer. You are what? A consumer. They own people don't buy that. We do it. Well, then it's your homie. With all due respect, when people talk about giving back, come on, man. with all due respect, with all due respect, and I tell people, I say, so don't tell me about nothing, because I ain't here to promulgate no religion, because we going to get into it. We going to get into some science. Like I said, I ain't on nobody's side. I ain't on no misnomer white lie, and I ain't on no misnomer black lie. I stand right here, the pendulum swinging the same way as the left as it does to the right. Standing in truth, meaning prove all things. And I bet you I'm going to come out unscarred, unscathed, because I already been in the lion's den. I already been there. So when it comes down to righteousness and truth, man, hey, we can stand here till the flesh gone, man. I'll take all the darts. I stand here till the flesh is gone, with no problem, with no doubt. So I know what's going on. You know? So it's not hard, brothers and sisters. I'm telling y'all, once we give everything back, what? Everything back. What? Once we give everything back, what? Everything back. Once we give everything back, what? It's over. Because I promise you, everything is written in the stars. Watch this. Man, this is when I say the type of science and the type of spirituality, if you connect it, you'll be like, you cannot disagree, because all I say is Maserat. And then you got to ask the question why everybody don't tell you about what's above and below and what this science is really about. And about your body is really the tabernacle. And everything in the biblical scriptures is talking about what? The hands. What? The tabernacle that's built without hands. Come on, man. It's easy. So when we talk about historical things and lawful things, all that stuff go together. I'm telling you, we still on the same plane. And I'd be like, okay, I asked all my brothers with letters and topics behind their names. And I asked them, have y'all ever heard of Walter Williams? Because if anybody ever is older than me, and you say you heard of Walter Williams, then it's a wrap. And when I talk to elders, they be like, yeah, we know of Walter Williams. And I said, so you know the historical origins of Islam and the historical origins of Christianity. And it's a plethora of so much wisdom and historicalness that goes with things for we can stand strong, because what? Religion has separated us. People be arguing over some Muhammad and this, that, and the other, and they say they scholars. And I say that's not scholars. That's a belief system. And right under the word belief, you have a word belai, believing in things you cannot prove. And I don't argue with people about these religious dogmatic practices. When I talk about the historicalness and the scholarship, and that's what I call universal. So if you're not willing to deal with universality and things that can be proven on all planes, then we can't do nothing, y'all. And that's why everybody get caught in the rapture of what? The same thing, the same thing that's been promulgated. What? This religious dogma. Think it's gonna be some race war. And I'd be like, man, y'all have missed the whole damn ideology, the sociology, all the complexity of what has been created, and to put it so small in a mind freight of words that's meaningless. Adjectives. Because if we sit on here, and let me just give some historicalness for all my religious people, no matter how you feel, or no matter how don't you feel, you know, peace and love to you too, Noble. Shalom alaikum. Alaikum shalom. To you too, brother. Good day. And peace and love. Peace and love. Peace and love. I'm on YouTube as well. I'm sorry, y'all. But, y'all, we know if we really sit down and compare and contrast, y'all know we can't arbitrarily explain things. We'll be looking like some fools. We're like, we'll be looking like some fools, man. I mean, just think about this. We argue over things that we can't prove. And I say, dude, it has to be some things as a people agree on. When I talk about subjective and objective, So when I talk about science and when I talk about the constellations or Mazzaroth, things that's proven, things that we should agree on, like when I talk about the 7 Kemetic principles, we can't have no difference on principles. Because if anybody say, no, I don't agree with them principles, well, clearly it's something off. Because if we don't understand the 7 Kemetic principles and we can't agree to the 7 Kemetic principles, it's definitely an illusion on somebody's behalf. Think about what I'm saying. When I say 7 Kemetic principles, I bet you nobody have a problem with that. You can't. We might not have read those 7 Kemetic principles. And so when I talk about understanding, we can't have no difference. If I ask a person, how do you get through Friday? Do you have to go through Thursday? You have to say yes. Some people will say, well, no, man, I can show you how to get through Friday without going through Thursday. Why do you want to listen to a court jester like that? We're talking about things that's understood. Absolutely. We're talking about things that's above. That has to match everything below. It must. And it's explained in all biblical texts, in analogy, in a parable, in symbology of what? Your biblical text. I already said Mazzaroth. So when you research Mazzaroth in your biblical scripture, you'll be like, damn. Everything in the Bible is showing you something outside, explaining something inside or above. Just like in the biblical scriptures, Sophia is the female counterpart, that wisdom, understanding. In the biblical scriptures, Sophia is related to what? That wisdom, that understanding. That bafflement, written Kabbalistically. So when I talk about historical origins, historical origins, if you say you're a scholar, if you say you're an educator, if you say you study this, historical that, then you should have some form of reference. Because anytime that I've done lectures on a college campus, I never had no hecklers. I never had no problem because I'm given a certain speaking on a specific topic. And I don't let who I am and my understanding interfere with the message that I'm giving. But when we talk about specifics, or when a person asks me, what do I believe, and how do I operate, then of course that's something personal. And my personal beliefs shouldn't mind what I'm demonstrating and what I'm teaching from a historical perspective. So when I was getting my dual master's degree from GCU, I had a plethora of professors, saying that is hidden from the eyes of all living man, know it not, the place of their Islam, peace and love. But when I met a lot of professors and everything from different backgrounds and from different religious perspectives, I was always able to cross-study. I was always able to sit down and talk to them. I used to be on campus with my fez and my turban on, every day. I had the pleasure, my professor is a potentate out in Arizona. I know prosecuted attorneys and everything. So when I sit in certain houses and things, they always say, you just got to get your own. And like I tell people, man, it's only one science. It's only one truth. And most of us just are not connected to these sciences and to these truths. But we can't go on and say, oh, it's not true and it's not the other. I think that's so small. I think that's so, how can I say, it's just so, that's a biasness perspective to have. And you're closing your chamber of understanding and wisdom. Why? Because when you can get into the land, into the living of the know, and you choose to reject wisdom, you choose to reject a righteousness. You choose to reject it. And I tell people, when we talk about archetypes, and when we talk about, that's a good man, per se, stay in the context. How you gonna know that's a good man unless it's some what? Attributes of what a good man represents. How? In the flesh? And even if someone passed, you might say, hey, that was a good man. Why? Because you could talk about some of the attributes of that good man, or those characteristics of that good man. How? Because those things was envisioned in the flesh with your eyes. You see? Got to keep my throat chakra up. Go ahead. You wanted to say something? Oh, I thought somebody wanted to say something. I don't know. But I always be telling my brothers and sisters, it's always an esoteric and an exoteric explanation of the biblical text. It's always inner meanings. And my close companions, my Jacobites, when a person is teaching you the way, they're going to teach you the way. They're going to teach you the ins and the outs. They're going to teach you everything. They're going to give you all the tools in the toolbox for you can know. That's why I be saying this ain't no secret with me. Is it everything sacred? Yes, but it's not secret. I can't be a Pied Piper. I can't be a people person. I can't be a divine minister and I have some secret. I can't. So what I do here, when I come on here, I say, okay, baby, brothers and sisters, let's see, have we seen things from a historical perspective or an educational perspective? Have we been introduced to this? What about this? What about this? What about this? What about certain things that's synonymous? What about certain books and literature when a person just tell you about a certain religious practice or a religious teacher, and then I say, have you seen this or heard this? Like, I don't diss no science, but I know when I hear things and things just don't be a coincidence, like when I talk about the Watchers, and a lot of people don't even know what the Watchers is. Okay, in Detroit, you had the Jehovah's Witness, and his name was Rutherford, and he wrote a lot of literature. And when I say a lot of literature, and I'm just gonna say a lot of that literature, when you see other people with literature that's in religions and you know certain things, you'll be like, well, if I show you stuff, you'll be like, well, this sounds just like this. And I'll be like, yeah. And this person, individual, that everybody act like they don't know, was in Detroit at the same time. You'd be like, well, how this, just like this? And how the Red Book, Sheik, you can show me the stuff in the World Almanacs. Because I tell people, it's nothing new under the sun. And it never was a time when man was not. So if that's the case, history is only as old as it's recorded, as we can go back and see, as we can do the Carmen dating. So when a person come and say they're all knowing and they then got some wisdom dropped down to them osmosisly, and then your brother, me, because people can do greater work than I, can say, well, what about this? 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 And it be verbatim. You can't deny it. Because if I talk about the other, I have to talk about this. If I say, okay, if I say the Book of Mormon was plagiarized by the View of the Hebrews, and I can't stand there and I say, I can show you where I did this in one of my oral dissertations at GCU. I said, that stuff ain't valid. I said, because I can get the View of the Hebrews and show you in the View of the Hebrews that all this stuff in here, what this figure is talking about, come from this literature here. That's way older than this. That trumps this. And then it's nothing nobody can say. And I'll be like, brothers and sisters, I'll be like, please, I'm not here to argue with no one. All I'm here to show you, like, what about this? What about this? What about this? And you'd be like, damn. You'd be like, damn. You'd be like, well, it's right here. This all I'll be saying. And when people say stuff hidden, no, you're not introduced to the wisdom. Nothing is hidden. How can anything be hidden? And I'm right here telling you it. So what you have to say, and now what you got to do, now your light bulb, your aha moment should be happening. Your illumination should be happening. You like, well, everybody else, they got a motive. Your light bulb should be pumping off. You'd be like, well, wait a minute. You said you an educator and a scholar. What? Well, this brother here. And that's why when they be like, y'all insane, when we talk about us. Think about what I'm saying, y'all, when you got all these different religious aspects. When I say, well, let's deal with the historical origin of this stuff. Let's deal with the historical origin. Man, Dr. Ben already lectured this stuff. And all these people be talking about Dr. Ben as their elder. John Henry Clark already lectured this. Amos Wilson already lectured this. Dr. Francis Quelch Wilson lectured this already. Sheikh Anta Diop already lectured this. Ivan Van Sertima already lectured this. Hell, Albert Churchward already lectured this and wrote about it. David McRitchie already wrote about this, the ancient and modern Britons. What are we talking about? It's already there. Lewis and Clark, they already pinpointed what was here. And so I talk about the historical origin of things. The historical origin of things. Brothers and sisters, when I say we'll let people sit up here and have us going against each other, and when I ask people about linguistics, and I say, do you understand linguistics? What you mean? I said, you have to understand linguistics when you're dealing with these certain words in the Bible. Do you understand linguistics? Do you have a lexicon? No. So if you don't understand what these words mean and the origin of these words and the context, what they mean, how are you going to sit down and have an intelligent conversation over things that should fit like a puzzle? Because we're dealing with, this ain't nothing but a damn schoolmaster. I ain't talking about nothing complex. Actually, what I'm talking about is the prerequisite before you should be moving any damn where you be going. Excuse my candor. I'm dealing with a prerequisite right here. Right? And so when I talk about scholarship, when people be dedicating their lives to their work, and I be asking my brothers and sisters, they get on here as I call them agitators or whatever. I say, man, how can you call yourself a scholar? And all our scholars said the same thing. None of our scholars went against nothing, and no matter what color they are. They didn't go against each other. No scholar. Show me one scholar that went against anything that I be saying. You can't find one. And when I talk about Walter Williams, and I ask a lot of my brothers, they don't even know who Walter Williams is. Most people don't even know who Amos Wilson is. Paul Robeson. So when we say things, I'll be like, dude, I can find just as many scholars and educators and other nationalities that agree with everything I'm saying. But I want to give y'all a little something before I move on. Let me see something. I want to see if I can give you a little, okay. Okay, hold on, y'all. Wait a minute, because I want to give you, I want to read something. I might not read all that, but I'll just give you a preface. I'll do that. So, if you ever heard of Walter Williams, I don't know if anybody ever heard of him. But he's saying like the purpose of writing this step-by-step historical origin and realities of Manas and Muhammadism, Islam, as opposed to the usual traditions, the myth and fables. He's talking about a lot of things. He's talking about this Muhammad that everybody say and can't prove. And I say I know a lot of misnomer brothers and sisters from the Middle East, professors, and they'll tell you that that's not true. And there's so many, I gotta find one of the professors' name. I'm gonna try to look him up before I get off here. It's a professor that speak about this matter-factually. And he wear his hijab, he wear his turban, he wear it all the time. And he respect his Islamic historicalness, but he's not on here to act like when people be saying this is true and this is factual, like some fictitious characters, he not on there to play, and he's a professor. When he like, none of these people, he like, I'm sorry, it didn't happen, Because truthful, in academia, it was like the hero, when they talk about the traditional object of Islam, the created creature named Muhammad, but the main reason for not having historical data or a real life biography for a traditional prophet, Muhammad, is because there never has been a man of tradition, Islam, that ever walked the earth in human form by the name of Muhammad, called the prophet. And let's go a little deeper and find out how, when, and where this created faceless icon came about. And in order to do this, it becomes obvious that I have to follow the monophysicists and the physicists, Christian polemics, or argue throughout Byzantine history to the 13th century when the human Muhammad emerged. And as you read further in this piece of wisdom, I will introduce you to Ibn al-Arabi, the real Muhammad, the man whose biography and life were used to create the fictitious created character of Islamic tradition. And before his introduction, I want to bring to you attention the world as it was during the time of antiquity, 10,000 BCE to 332 BCE. During this time and era, the Africans living throughout the continent of Africa practiced no religion. They did, however, practice what can be called an African traditional spiritual consciousness, acronym ATSC, a spiritual way of life in tune with African spiritual, with African spiritual thought, and in tune with the cosmic rhythm of the universe. Included this ancient African practice was an awareness of the omnipresent, omnipotent, the all universal creator, the creatress, whatever you want to call it, respect for nature, paying homage and respect to our ancestors. Positive and negative forces were acknowledged and that's in the other aspect I want to talk about, and our tantra sex magic, when we talk about positive and negative, in that aspect, when I talk about male and female, we put it in that aspect, but you have to have eyes to see. You have to be in your metaphysical eye, the spiritual plane. Your pineal must be open. And everybody understand what I'm saying, but let's proceed. But the positive and negative forces were acknowledged, in which all were done with certain rituals and libations that were offered in the three categories. The ancient Egyptians, who had the world's first and oldest civilization, were the first students of the universe and its ancient African cultures and civilizations, including laws of Ma'at, truth, justice, peace, love, wisdom, the respect of the earth and its environments. Animals and nature also were included. And above all, respect, love, and homage paid to our royal ancestors and XYZ, The first known historical, no disrespect, European to come was so-called Alexander the Greek in 332 BCE. Note that the contrary popular belief in today's African community, the Greeks prior to Alexandria coming to Egypt did not study with the ancient Egyptians in their sacred temples, AKA our institutions. Peace, noble, peace and love. But the reasons, one, had the so-called Greeks study with the ancient Egyptians, the Greeks today would be what? Bilingual, speaking Greek and the language of the ancient Egyptians. And two, Greeks will have learned they would have learned how the Great Pyramids was built. And they would have been taught the meaning of the Medu Neter, which is the hieroglyphics, those signs and symbols, which never been deciphered. So when we talk about the revised edition of the historical origin of Christianity, the Greeks were a barbaric spirituality of the tune with the universe. Remember, Sheikh Anta Diop got a book. What is called what is Sheikh Anta Diop book called? It'll come to me. I think it might be called The Barbarians, if I'm not mistaken. But the Greeks were a barbaric spirituality out of tune with the universe, illiterate people, and without an alphabet or any form of writing. And the ancient Egyptians did not allow foreigners of any race into their sacred institutions. They were selective of their own African brothers and sisters, nor did they race mix during the time of antiquity. And the ancient Egyptians during the time of antiquity were the only people on earth who had a writing system. That's a fact that should not be overlooked. And they were the only literate people on the earth at this time of antiquity, brothers and sisters. And they were the first system of writing, the alphabets, which are the Medu Neter, or the hieroglyphics, the hieratic phonetic, and the democratic phonetic, the two alphabets per se. You know, you can research this stuff yourself. And the so-called Greeks and Romans, who are one and the same race, did begin to study with the Methodic Coptic Egyptians in Africa in Constantinople's time in Turkey after 537 ACE. In the Hagia Sophia, the Hagia Sophia, research it. And the Hagia or the Hagia Sophia is the world's first Christian church ever built at the first see or seat for Christianity. It was also the first European institution and center of learning for the so-called Europeans. And in this institution, the teachings faculty was entirely Methic, Coptic African Egyptians. And more will be said of that, of the Hagia Sophia in different chapters of this book. But after Alexander came to Africa, other European invaders began to enter the African continent. They came from the Slavic areas of Europe, such as Bulgaria, Albania, Yugoslavia, Hungary, Greece, Romania, and southern Russia. And they used the Aegean and Black Sea. In the 1828 Webster Dictionary, you can look up the Hellenistic Jews. And in there, you're going to see how they travel from this area and to this area. And you're going to see the Aegean Sea. In the 1828 Webster Dictionary, it's going to tell you what an American is. The copper color races found here by the Europeans. These is facts. It's going to tell you what a Hebrew and a Hebrews is. It's going to break things down where in the dictionary. It's going to tell you what more is so you can have a clear understanding of things, because more don't mean black in Spanish. In Spanish, you know what mean black? Negrito, negrito beans. So we can stop the cap right there. They used the Aegean and the Black Sea as their route to enter the geographical land areas in North Central and Northeast Africa, especially Turkey. The Mediterranean Sea was used to enter Egypt and Central Africa and other northern African countries along the Mediterranean, such as Libya, Tunisia, Algeria, Morocco, Mauritania. And today these people are called the misnomer Arabs. What you mean? I ain't say the ancient Arabs, A-R-A-P. A-R-A-P, it's an ancient book by dictionary by Vladimir Dale. He's a Russian. He told you what the ancient Arab is. And I showed you on my TikTok page. You can see the reference, what an ancient Arab is from Vladimir Dale's ancient dictionary of what an Arab is in history. In history, what an ancient Arab is. And then you can get the book by Bertram Thomas. He got a book called The Arab, and he telling you who the ancient Arab is. But I think they took out one of the pages that's giving you the Carmen Dayton of who the ancient Arabs is, because that's what Google did. But I got the original book. Oh yeah. So let's proceed. The Mediterranean Sea was used to enter Egypt into Central Africa and other African countries along the Mediterranean Sea. Okay, I gave you all that. And they were called the Arabs, A-R-A-B, not the ancient A-R-A-P. These is facts, and facts are stubborn, but they facts. I don't care how nobody feel. And in Egypt, they were under the rule of the Greek Ptolemies. And in Turkey, which included North Syria and the surrounding areas, they were under the rule of the Greek Seleucid rulers. And the Ptolemies and the Seleucids rulers were successors to Alexander the Greek after his death in 323 BCE. And the Ptolemies, the Seleucids rulers, and other incoming Europeans invaded from Slavic Europe, as I said earlier, and all spoke an agglutinative Bulgarian type of Greek language, just like when I be talking about Yiddish and gibberish and all this stuff. And over the years, these so-called Europeans began to migrate further south, west, and into the northern areas of the African continent, into such places that's known as Lebanon, so-called Palestine, Jordan, Iraq, Iran, Sudan, Arabia, Yemen. You know, I can go on and on with this. And these so-called, this is what the author's telling you, the savage European customs. And today these same people have taken the traditional teachings of Islam and made them part of their customs and culture. The same also can be said of the African Islamic communities in Africa, America, and throughout the world today. And I reiterate that before one can understand Manes Muhammadanism, Islam, one has to know ancient history and the historical origins of Christianity, as well as the monocyte Christianity. But the most important fact to remember is that the traditional name Muhammad, the prophet, is a name and title taken from Ibn al-Arabi and given some of the attributes of Christ, borrowed from the ancient Egyptians' god, Osiris. Osiris. After the death of Ibn al-Arabi in 1240 ACE, you have to read a revised edition of the historical origin of Christianity to further understand the origin of Christianity. And I reiterate again that one has to realize that minus Muhammadanism, Islam is a derivative of monocyte Christianity before the historical origin of minus Muhammadanism, Islam, can be fully understood. And in chapter 2 and in chapter 4, he will introduce and explain Oranism, monophysism, Nestorianism, with Zoroastrianism, monotheism, monolithism, and Ibn al-Arabi, which collectively caused the creation of the name Muhammad and a new monist religion that was first called Muhammadanism, now called Islam, to come about. And as you come to reading and being educated on certain things, keep in mind that Muhammad and Jesus are both created creatures in this context. And in order to understand monist Muhammadanism and Islam or Christianity fully, one must know or study world history and understand how history progressed to the time, to places, events, and dates for the creation of man, created icons. And the difference is that icons of Christ has a face, and the icon of Muhammad is faceless. In the case of Muhammad without a face, in Orthodox Islam, it is against Islamic law to portray Muhammad with a face, which signifies a non-human creature created by man. This gets to the heart of what was the ongoing polemic or argument between two factions, the Melhite, Diocite, Coptic Egyptians, and the Artists and the Monocyte Coptic Egyptians. And the Melhite Copts created two Diocetics, or two natures, which we call the divine and the human. And for the creature Serapis, Christ, when we talk about the historical origins of Christianity in chapter 4, the Council of Ephesus. At the same time, the Monocyte Copts refused to accept the human nature that was given to Serapis, the Christ, at the Council of Ephesus in 431 A, B, C, and E. And they recognized only the divine Osiris, like spirit, that was given to Serapis icon by the Melhites, remember, in 320 BCE. Remember? And this argument went through centuries, XYZ, y'all. I'm just setting the precedent because we about to move on. Centuries for about 900 some years from the time Arius made a strong statement about the created creature, Serapis, remember? In the year 319, Arius stated that Serapis, who later became Christ, was a created creature. And the argument continued until the Monocyte faction became a racially mixed group of Africans and Europeans. And as I said earlier, today the European faction is called Arabs, and they are living throughout Northeast Africa, Turkey, Syria, Jordan, Iran, Iraq, Sudan, Arabia, Yemen, Lebanon, so-called Palestine, Central Africa, Egypt, and all the countries of North Africa that border the Mediterranean Sea. And this monocytic African and European faction is the 13th century, starting with the disciples of followers of Ibn al-Arabi. Allah, alias Muhammad, began to use his biography and life to create and fashion a new monist religion called what? Muhammadanism. And centuries later, the religion would be called Islam. And the change was consummated, meaning this is what we're going to do. When the religion was officially named Islam during and after the formulation and writings of the world's first Quran, based on the first 5 books of Moses. And everybody know it. And the Psalms of the Old Testament and the 4 Gospels of the New Testament. Like, how can you deny what I'm saying? And the work began in 1870 in Syria and finished 49 years later, and accepted by the Muhammadan world in 1919 at Cairo, Egypt. And it was at that point that they ceased calling the religion Muhammadanism. And armed with the literature, the Quran, written and formulated by Jewish scholars and rabbis. When people be mad, I said, dude, I can show you all this. I did this in academia. It was put together, that Quran, by Jewish scholars and rabbis from the Jewish organization and the Alliance Israelite Universal of Paris, France. A new religion called Islam was created. And the Quran and Islam were approved by Arab scholars who began to create more tradition for their newly formed Islamic religion, along with the traditional manufactured stories attached to the creator Muhammad. One of the first things the Arab scholars did was to give a special praise to the name Muhammad whenever this name was spoken, thus invoking what is known as Hapipa. You know, I might be pronouncing it wrong. Al-Muhammadiyah. And that means to sing the praise of Muhammad. A tradition was established. Tradition, not law. Tradition. Even more tradition connected to the name Muhammad was created by Jewish scholars, which is known as Israeliyat, Israeliyat, or Israelite tales. For example, according to tradition, Muhammad the prophet was illiterate. You can read that in Gad the seer, and therefore not able to read. Hence, according to tradition, the angel Gabriel taught him the entire Quran, and subsequently Muhammad dedicated the Quran to a scribe from memory. And he was under what? He was Khadijah and Weragraw. They were high Catholic. Like, that wasn't no Islam. But anyway, let us take a look and find out who the angel Gabriel is supposed to be. And if you take time to investigate, you will discover that the angels, Gabriel is a little bird, and further inquiry reveals that another angel, Israfil, taught Gabriel, and Israfil is described as a six-tongued hairy monster. And we could talk about the archangel Gabriel and Israfil as you investigate this book for yourself and this piece of wisdom. But this is what Islamic tradition is teaching its students to believe and follow. And in chapter 1, the author revealed to the reader how the monocytic and the diocetic feud eventually led to Ibn al-Arabi, alias Muhammad, whose biography and life were used to create Muhammad, the prophet of Islam. No disrespect to no one. I'll give y'all a little bit more. And this how a lot of the laying the foundation for the creation of the name Muhammad. How to understand the man-made religion called Islam, previously known as the Muhammadanism, is called essential to understand that Islam is nothing more than a derivative of earliest Christianity and monophysite Christianity. And through various iterations and events, the development of monist Muhammadanism, Islam, unfolded over the centuries through various movements such as Arianism, monophysism, Nestorianism, Christianity, monotheism, and even more. First, you had Arianism, a strong statement by the Coptic Egyptians. I gave y'all all that. All that history, I just want y'all to jump in that and read it for a minute. When you get time, investigate it. Just take a little bit of your time to research anything that I'm saying and see, do it make sense? You'll be like, yes. So I talk about the historicalness, the things that I had the pleasure to speak on a college campus and bring peer-reviewed scholarly research when brothers and sisters be saying they scholars. Well, we should be agreeing. If anybody older than me or just as old as me, look up Tony Brown's journals. And then you will see Dr. Ben. You will see all those brothers. They ain't arguing on Tony Brown journals. They on there, what? Debunking Eurocentric and Negrocentric propaganda. You got all those scholars together doing historical teachings. And then it's one teaching with Dr. Ben and a couple other scholars on there. And they're at University of Arkansas, Pine Bluff, you know? And Dr. Ben is telling them about the Africanness of Christianity, you know? And so all this stuff is old, you know? So that's all I wanted to really share with my brothers and sisters, man. I had a little time, and a real situation happened today about contract and signing things. And, you know, the young brother, like, you just walking past all that wisdom is right there. He was like, it's our fault too, Sheik. And I was like, no, it ain't. It's our fault because we don't make this popular. The only thing been popular is our community is work to you owe or God gonna fix it. Not teaching you who you are, not teaching you your vibration, not teaching you how to operate in your higher self. And if masonry and all this stuff was so good, why it's a secret? Because it ain't no secret with me. Because I give you all the keys. I give you 99 degrees. You should want to be a snowman. Nobody on here should want to be no 32 and 33 degree snowman, no fictitious name. You should want to stand up and arise with all your rights, with all standing up as a perfect pentagram, not taking no oath, because there's no reason to take no oath. And God, men don't take oath. We can't master and we can't praise two gods if we pray to the God within. And this is just the truth. And so I just wanted to say peace and love to all my brothers and sisters that's out here today. You know, I want everybody to, let's get back into the things we know. Because, like I have to tell a brother today, he was like, man, are you down with reparations? I said, I'm down with reparations just like you down with reparations, my young brother. You know? Because I love these conversations. But he was like, well, can you explain something to me? Yes, this is why I love coming home. And I said, okay, I'm down with reparations, and this when I was on the college campus. I said, hey, so what is black according to science and law? He was like, black, African American. I said, but okay, what does black mean in this context of ethnicity in the eyes of the law? He was like, I don't know. I was like, it's dead. He was like, what you mean, like dead, dead? I was like, yes, dead. I said, put death in front of everything you see black. He reaching it up. I said, a lot of the stuff I'm talking is Latin. He was like, what you mean? I said, every practice have its own language. I said, it's civil mortis in this context. He looked it up. He said, damn. So I said, I'm down with reparations. So I said, let's play devil's advocate. I said, you think an attorney, and I'll just use Ben Crump because he's a real attorney, to say if these group of people, I ain't gonna use the Black Lives Matters because that's a whole nother subject. Say these group of misnomer black people say, oh, we got all this money, we finna hire Ben Crump to defend us in a court of law for some reparations. I'm telling you right now, Ben Crump know he not gonna win. I'm telling you right now, you gonna lose going there and talk about black and some reparations. I'm telling you without a shadow of a doubt that you losing, and he know he gonna lose, but he gonna get paid regardless. These is facts because black has no standing in law. So when all these people be promulgating this black stuff, I get it that black is beautiful. Blue beautiful, green beautiful too. But this is an adjective. You're not an adjective. Black just described the you of the Moor. Blackmore, Tony Moore, Swarty Moore. The you of the Moor. You know, AKA in the 1599 Geneva Bible, Blackamoor. So when I talk about these things, I say, yes, I'm down with reparations, but Negro, black, and colored African Americans would never, ever, 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 ever get reparations, identifying to names and words that's synonymous to slavery. The Dred Scott Law was never abolished. It's been illegal to be a Negro, black, or colored or African American since the 1800s. If the Dred Scott Law was never abolished, my brothers and sisters, and then don't get on here and talk about some 14th Amendment, and I know you don't know what you're talking about, and I say, well, what do you need the 14th Amendment for if the 13th Amendment is supposed to do everything with all sections? So if you don't understand the 13th, the 14th, the 15th Amendment, if you don't understand manumissions, if you don't understand the Declaration of Human Rights, Article 15, House Joint Resolution, the religious rights of the indigenous people, and the plethora of more law pertaining to ethnicity, especially when I talk about signing your name, when they put a piece of paper in front of you and they ask you, fill out everything that's pertaining to you, just like the SF 181 form. And I tell people, well, you right on there, and black ain't it. But you what? Willingly bow out because you don't know who you are. So you don't know how to fill things out. And I tell people to read. Most people don't read. They just feel. I said, read the SF 181 form. Read it in all its entirety. And that's just a step. That ain't nothing high, because we can get to some other basic stuff. You'll be like, damn, I do when I get a job, I sign black. I know you do. Read the SF 180 form and tell me what you see. It said, fill out all pertaining to you. So you can fill out more than one that pertaining to you, but you know the one ain't you. But one of them on there can clear up everything. When I talk about nationality, your race and your status, when I talk about white by law, and people be misconstrued in words when I put them in the right parameter for power. And I say, I'm not here to argue with my brothers and sisters. Like, I'm not here to do that. And I tell people, you do what you do, and you say that you're not an American. I love to be an American. It's people that came over here that lost their lives, children that lost their lives to be over here in America. It ain't no other place I want to be. The land of the free, the home of the brave. Most of these Negroes don't have no dual passport. They not no goddamn Moroccan citizens or nothing. They ass, excuse my candor, ain't left 2100 Jackson Street. Most of these Negroes that be professing this, they ain't Americans, they some Moroccans. You ain't left 2100 Jackson Street in your projects. And I tell these brothers, if you don't want to be here in America, why are you here? You got to tell me that. Why are you here in America, the land of the free, the home of the brave? Why are you here? Just do all the fraud stuff, expatriate from this de facto government when you can be, and then you'll become a what? Domestic terrorist, foreign and abroad. And then they lock you up in the FEMA camps, and then you do that because you don't like to be an American. You don't like to be no American. You profess that out your mouth. So that's what I always ask my brothers and sisters. I said, come on, man, it's a better way to do things. Because I'm proud to be an American. That's why I ask a lot of people, I said, your mother, your ancestor, your great-grandmother would be turning over if they hear you talking like this, and they native to the land, and you talk about you some damn Moroccan from some goddamn, excuse me, my candor, Africa. And I ain't saying some people ain't from Africa, but my ancestor, my family, especially on my dad's side, ain't from no damn Africa. I get what you're saying, Africa per se, but my family on my dad's side all from Florida. We got records of my family in Florida in the early 1800s. And before that, records. Like, come on, man. So that's all I'm telling my brothers and sisters. I tell people, it's everyone's not out here, how can I say it, leading people in burning houses. Everyone that represent science or education or wisdom is not out here trying to have you take their course and I can make you rich. I don't profess none of that. What I let people know is I have a temple in the school. As I travel on my own dime back to my city of Flint, I show people how to do things because I'm a source. I show people how you set your organization up, your for-profit or your non-profit organization. If you're doing ministry, you always want to be perfect on paper. You want to make sure you DBA, doing business as. You want to have your articles of organization. You want to have all that set up. You want to have your account set up in your business name. You want to be registered on the Duns and Bradstreet. So when you operate as that entity can be recognized on its own 2 feet. And that's how you're doing business as. And then I can show you how to build business credit. How? By daily operations that you're already doing, but you're mixing your money because you don't have these things standing on their own entity. And these is structured. These are templates. This is show you how to set your business up the right way. I can't guarantee you nothing. I can't guarantee you're going to make no money you on the block hustling. That I don't do. I help you set yourself up the right way where you don't have to go backwards. And you can be like, man, I got with this brother, man, I gave this brother a donation. He crossed my T's, dotted my I's. I was on here bragging, but I had to give gratitude and be like, yeah, I didn't have this in line. And I didn't know about Quick 30 accounts. And I didn't know this. And I didn't know I should use my personal line of credit to build myself up and take this off for my business can stand on its own 2 feet. I didn't know how to apply for all these different lines of credit to build my business because I am operating in the right way and I want to build business credit. How? By with the things I'm doing with the money in my pocket already. But I'm mixing the money because my business is not getting credit for these transactions. I'm telling you, man. All these things where we be like, damn, that makes sense. I know. And then when we working, the money we giving Uncle Sam, when we getting a tax return, we giving away millions and millions and millions and millions and millions because we let the ones that scammed us, well, not us, we listen and we give all those individuals the glory. And instead of giving the real ones, be like, wait a minute, These people already proved that they're not right. So you just a broken clock. That's correct twice a day. So your motive was wrong. You got to admit that. You can't keep lecturing and talking and you collected millions of dollars to do a certain thing. It just don't work that way. So then you got to see these people motive because you raise certain funds to do a certain thing. So a real person would be like, man, I'm over my head. And then a person would be like, yeah, we knew that. But what I'm saying is we giving all our finances away to Uncle Sam and our religious rights trump everything. You know, we give all our finances away. And I always ask people, have y'all ever watched Sopranos? They be like, yes. And I say, well, what's the symbology in Sopranos? When I talk about lawyer and client confidentiality, people are like, what you mean? I say Negro, Black, and color or African Americans, they don't have lawyer and client confidentiality. What you mean, Sheik? So when you testify to a Negro preacher, he gonna get subpoenaed. Especially if you're getting that faith-based initiative, acronym FBI, that money to teach mandated government religion. And so you don't have no lawyer client confidentiality. You don't understand that everything, you could be donating so many millions to your tax-exempt organization that y'all could be doing things in the neighborhood, having houses and things for the single mom, the seniors. Y'all can be having your own charter school. Instead of these people got big auditoriums and things, and people say the money is not coming in. And I say, yes, it is. Like, just look at it. And then you look at the communities, it's depleted. We giving our money away to Uncle Sam, think we getting a tax return. Just imagine everybody that said, you know what? Let me talk to my tax attorney. Forget some TurboTax. They just filing taxes. Let me talk to a tax attorney and see if this young brother on here, Sheik Goodman Bay, really know what he's talking about. Yep. He gonna be like, yeah. He'll be like, yeah. You either gonna donate it to your religious or charitable contribution of your choice, or you gonna give it to Uncle Sam. And depending on what tax bracket you in, you have no deductions. You owe Uncle Sam a fat check. So I'll give you an analogy. Say you make 100 bands and you don't have no deductions, ETC. You owe Uncle Sam a fat check at the end of the year, even if they're taking money from you. The thing is to offset your taxes and support your religious and charitable contribution of your choice. Everybody sit on the board. That's how you do what? Charter schools. That's how you own houses under your religious organization. That's how you have your temple and school. That's how you have your library. That's how you have your learning center. That's how you have your daycare. That's how you have your computer lab. That's how you have your skill center. That's how you have your hair salon, your nail salon. That's how you have your senior care, teaching all the stuff where? In your temple. And when you're ready, you can apply for all the grants that you don't have to pay back. Why? Because you're already established. These is facts. So that's how other communities are rocking. Because my Jewish community, they split their money 3 ways. Because you either going to give it to Uncle Sam or you're going to support your religious and charitable contribution of your choice. And that's how they own things. Millions and millions of dollars coming in. You just got to imagine you're multi-millionaires. You got all those rich people in there, and they understand the dynamics, what I'm saying. And say you live in the state of California. In the state of California, just on a small scale, you can donate 60% of your earned income before taxes to your religious and charitable contribution of your choice. So say if you make $100 million a year, and just say your taxes is $10 million a year. Just say that. You can give, and I'm just giving a little number, you can give $6 million. And then all of your other rich homies, and then not other donations you can give dollar for dollar to other entities in that organization. Think about this. All the philanthropy work you can do, all the teaching, all these things you can do, and that's how communities be built up. That's how you own neighborhoods, that's how I become religious community, private. Just off the money, brothers and sisters giving to Uncle Sam. That's how we bought our land. We have 10 acres in Kingsman, Arizona, and I've been telling people, I said, man, people can get a fraction, a part of an acre, because 1 acre is a lot, and we can start having our co-op greenhouses. I've been telling people before, it already happened with another group of people. I've been telling people, I said, man, me and my muftis can meet everybody out there on the land. If everybody ready to do something, it can happen. It's easy access off the road, bam. We can put a nice structure on the land, everything. Boom, right off the highway. It's right going to Vegas, coming from Arizona. And we own 10 acres. And 10 acres is a lot, you know? And so all these things I be talking about, man, is real things, especially when it comes to giving. But we have to be willing to trust something and say, man, we can do this. Because we giving our money away to Uncle Sam and our lives wouldn't change. And when I talk to certain people, when my professor used to be like, well, you just need to speak to all the college professors and we need to take you around, when they were trying to get me to join a Masonic groups. And my professor was like, no, you're going to have to get your own charter. But anyway, this is the pleasure that I had to do with certain people on the college campus where they like what I'm doing. So they just asked me for a tax-exempt receipt. And everybody be talking about, oh, when you this, you can't speak of this or you can't go against the government. I be seeing all these people on the internet just talking. I said, well, I'm talking like that. And I got an organization. I got a 501c3. And the reason why I have one is for people that's working and companies, things, they would do business with me. They would donate. Why? Because they want a tax-exempt receipt. When I sponsor basketball teams and soccer camps in Arizona, when I solicit Adidas and Gatorade, when I get 200 tickets to go to the Phoenix Suns game, I just can't go in there and say this and that and the other. They be wanting my tax exempt status. They be wanting to see if I'm real. And people can see I've been doing that for years. When I go to the damn Sprouts and all these places on these man-made holidays, and when people be hungry, and I know people that want to eat, and I bring people together, the only reason why I can go and solicit and get things donated to me is because how I'm set up on paper. How I get backpacks and shit filled up, giving it to kids. The only way I can get it is how I'm set up. If I ain't set up a certain way, they wouldn't do it. I can't walk in there and ask for things because it's in their contracts. They got monetary and tangible giving. All these companies do. Every last one, you know? And so when you're operating under a manifestation, that's how I get people, you know, that's successful, that have businesses that say, okay, we'll donate to your organization, Sheik, but can you give us a tax-exempt receipt? When I go on the college campus, all I do is be talking to professors. And I got back into it. I said, yeah, when I go back home, I'm going to talk to all the professors I have in my phone. I met 2 professors that I used to have at Mott, and I got some information. I'll be going back to do some speaking, and I got a speaking at the library. I just have to keep going. And I'm thankful for the people that donate consistently. And I want everybody to be a witness of some righteous. That's why when I be speaking, I'll tell everybody I'm not upset or nothing like that. I want everybody to be able to see and be like what something is. And a person can say, or they can or can't say, I donated, or a person can say, man, I gave my time, or I had a front row seat. But for me, I'll be talking about friends and family and people that have been following me forever and seeing the work that I'm doing and want to be a part of something. And we already have something going on, and I know what it takes to do it. And everybody can get a tax-exempt receipt. So I don't never expect no one not know me, do something that my family wouldn't do, even though a lot of people say, hey, man, you're not doing this for your family, which I do understand, you know, but you would want your family to do that. And so I give honor to all my muftis. I give honor to all the regular people that I've met, traveling, doing what I'm doing. And a lot of stuff I don't talk about, man. I got some stuff that I'm working in the pot, man. And I'm gonna keep going. And like I said, I'm gonna be here. I share my phone number. I ask everybody to subscribe to our Temple and School YouTube channel on YouTube at Burning Bush Tabernacle, Science Temple and School. I give everybody my phone number. I give everybody my phone number to hit me up, you know, and I'm transparent. All I'm telling people is, man, no one's gonna come save us. No one's gonna come save us. And we can give, we've been giving our money to Uncle Sam forever, think we're getting a tax return. And I tell people, you're not getting a tax return. What you're receiving is a small tittle of what the so-called system took out of your check the whole year. And then what you agreed for them to take, because when you start working a job, you agree for that, those taxes for this much, this much, this much, this much. I think it used to be 3. It might be 5 different areas that you might want the Uncle Sam to take out your check. You know? And so when I be talking about tax law and things, why certain people in religions and things can file exempt, why? Because they have proof. They'll be like, well, I'm donating to my religious organization. And they donate that. They doing the numbers their own, you know? Or if they just do it basically, you know? You have to know this stuff. And It's not hard. And I always tell our brothers and sisters, our life will never change. We'll see what can happen with basic things. And that's what I try to show people, basic things that's happening. Because why would you want a so-called check at the end of the year or at the end of the quarter when things supposed to be starting all over? And then we continue to complain like we don't have no libraries. Well, I have a library with over 1 million books and documents. Or we don't have no computer lab. I know how to get computers. I know how to solicit all the colleges and things for all their computers that they ain't using no more. They sit in the room. How I know? Because I worked at colleges. I know how to go solicit them. And I'm alumni from 3 universities. I know how to go right up to them. I'll go right up to them, tell them what I'm doing, and get that stuff donated to me. How? Because when I had my temple in Arizona, that's what I did. This is how I know. You know? So I know it's the need for that. I know it's the need for that. And you look at all these so-called mega churches and all that, and I say, well, what are they doing? I don't see no computer labs. I don't see no learning centers. I don't see no charter schools. Like, I don't see it. And all I'll be telling us is like, man, we can do this with what? The money that we giving Uncle Sam. We can say, well, I'm gonna donate to the Burning Bush Tabernacle Science Temple and School, and everybody here the other day, man, like I just hit 200,000 viewers, and I ain't even been on TikTok long. 200,000 viewers, and somebody hit me up was like, man, you need a PR person, this, that, and the other. I said, a PR person to do what? I said, I ain't trying to get rich. I'm trying to do something real. He was like, no, but listen, he was like, you're gonna always be here. And I'm like, dude, well, what do I need to do? Because I'm trying to build something. Somebody show me the way. Somebody show me the way. We can monetize everything. I have a full library. When I say full library, a lot of stuff I don't even talk about. You know, we can re-educate anybody that want to be educated. I have a plethora of wisdom and things, and a lot of stuff I have. A lot of literature is expensive, but I know how to teach us from a young age. And all we need is our people to support. Everybody got a job, I guarantee you right now, if you make at least $50,000, $60,000 and you don't have no deductions, I guarantee you owe Uncle Sam. I guarantee you owe Uncle Sam. But just imagine if you was a part of your religious and charitable contribution of your choice and you donating and say you doing ministry in the church or the temple, I'm talking navigational words, you would be able to get in-kind service as well. You'll be able to get in-kind service as well. And then I ask people, do you know what in-kind service consists of? Because these conversations don't be had. These conversations don't be had, and I say, well, why are we family? Just like we would talk about the misnomer, the Arabs. See, all they do is keep hiring their cousins and nieces. You can do the same thing. If you got a business, you hire your sister, your cousin, your auntie, it's tax bracket that y'all fall under. You hire your kids and all that. It's tax things that you get for hiring your family. What are we talking about? I said, I promise you, I won't change. I promise you. Everybody donate to like they did these certain figures. I promise you, I won't change. I don't need no Bentley. I don't need no mansion. I'm cool. I'm gonna show y'all what we can do. I'm gonna show you how we gonna teach the world. I'm gonna show y'all how we like, damn. I'm gonna show y'all how we buy houses in the neighborhood, fix them up, have our religious community, how we own things. How we teach the babies, how they be scholars at a young age. All that stuff that what we can complain about, we can feel it. Because I'm telling y'all, me and my empress were just talking about this the other day. We don't own nothing. And that's why I talk about contracts. Man, you ain't gonna own nothing. We don't own nothing. We don't own nothing. Nothing. And only thing we say we own, we supposed to own is our temples and our schools. Well, I'm telling you, what have you done with that money you got back from Uncle Sam each year? That you say you get, that you did these fake taxes or whatever. What good has it done for you? Or would it hurt anyone's lifestyle to donate to something that they see is real and credible? Because I have a whole, I teach systematically. I have a whole syllabus that I teach privately. I teach kids. I done helped so many people graduate from college. I done helped people sign contracts. Like all type of stuff. I done help kids graduate from high school. I'm a counselor in real life, behavioral health therapist. all these things. I'm a personal trainer, all in one. So we need all this because preaching and ministry and ministering, those are two different things per se. Education and belief system, those are two different things. And that's what I always tell people. The thing that's not common in our community is education. It's understanding finances. It's understanding health. It's ownership in our community, which we say we own. I'm telling you, we can get a piece of all this. How? With the money that we give in Uncle Sam that we think we get in a tax return. And we can donate a small fraction of that each month to our religious and charitable contribution of your choice. I'm talking about myself though. And give you a tax exempt receipt each year and hold me accountable. And as I start showing people like, okay, this is what we want to do, and it happened. Because I know when people go over their heads. People cannot operate a school 7 days a week if you don't have teachers, you don't have lunch programs. That is idiotic. If you don't have all that lined up, it ain't happening. And if you haven't busing, it's not happening. Curriculum, all that. Is it a good idea? Yes. But those things is just not when you don't have the proper people and you don't have those people that's willing to volunteer. Those things can't happen because you can't teach everything. But what you can have is a temple and a school. What you can have is something that the kids can go to, a community center, a spiritual house, an educational house, a safe house, that safety spot where everything is there as a source of information, a library, all those things that benefit the people that we don't have, a gym. You got men there that's mentors, all those things that's not there. You got empresses there at the temple every day teaching different skills. I know so many women that don't even know how to grocery shop. I know women that'll go to the grocery store and the groceries won't even last a month because you don't know how to grocery shop. I know a lot of people that don't know how to save and certain things. So all these skills that we will look past, the kids not getting. We'll try to build communities and telling women instead of going to Uncle Sam and to the government, getting welfare. We'll show our women how to be midwives. Because when you go to the hospital, then you're a willing obligor. We'll show our people that you don't need no marriage license. That's a third-party contract, AKA litigation. And you can do that with your spiritual house. And we can put it in the paper to notarize everyone. But you have the religious right. You don't have to have a third-party contract. That comes from the European Masons, which is the Daughters of American Revolution, acronym DAR, which came up with the marriage license. So, brothers and sisters, we can do some righteous things, and we can show the ones that may have been on the righteous path and maybe fell off and don't know how to stand upright. We can continue to let them do their thing and say, well, this is what we do in righteousness, and get to that level. Because if Andre Agassi have a charter school, Jalen Rose have their schools, LeBron have their schools, I guarantee you none of their money is being put up. And I bet you they're not teaching. So if that's the case, then there you have it. You need to be what? Have a body. You need to have a staff to make those things go on. Unless it's done in the fashion where how we do it. In the summertime, it's a community center for the kids. Because the parents don't get off in the summer. You get to get up, parents go to work, bring them to the temple at 8 o'clock, pick them up at 5. Same way when they go into school. When they get out of school, the bus can bring them there, boom. And when the parents get off, they pick them up. They get all their studies they need, right? That community development. And the parents donate. And the parents be involved because we have classes, nurturing classes, parent classes, men class, all these things. We have business classes where we put things together, creating our own companies and businesses. Everything we'll be doing will be done within. And we can have all that where we don't have to complain. About nothing. And so when I talk about these things, I'm really talking to my family, my friends, and I'm talking to everybody out here. Continue to come, continue to learn. Please subscribe to our Temple and School YouTube channel. Like I said, y'all know my number. Any books, any literature you need, turbans, fezzes, we provide it all. But I'm telling y'all, this is the best time to be who we are because we have the right to do some amazing things. But we continue to give our funds away to an entity where we think is going to run United States of America, and it's sitting in the private banking system. And we are a private banking system. And you can see your dollars being used to feel good about it. I'm telling you, because that's the only way we can do things. you know, is what? With the money we giving Uncle Sam. And hold that entity accountable. Because in our communities, in our neighborhoods, no one's gonna come in our neighborhoods and buy plight. It's sitting there for us. It's sitting for us to come in and do these things and then apply for all these grants and things just like the Somalians did. But they did they scamming thing and they had somebody that orchestrated. But it's a lot of stuff that we don't even know about, y'all, that I know about, but it takes a body. And it's there. It's there for who? In the Hardest Hit Fund. It's grants and things for people can, man, help, not only help the community, help yourselves and make a change in the community. Especially make a change with what we're doing with the money that we giving Uncle Sam. But I love y'all, man. Thank y'all for taking time out y'all day. My email is Goodman, GOODMANKHARY @gmail.com. That's goodmancurry@gmail.com. And my office number is 602-473-8767. It's late right now, so please let me be. You can give me a text. But if you want to support our temple and school, if you need anything, I gathered and compiled, about like 12 books. I got some more in the making over some more science. And like I said, once again, man, I don't have nothing to say. But I'm nothing without y'all. Support your brother. I love y'all. Peace, Empress. I love you too. Peace.